Good day, everyone. My name is Mphiwa Dlamini. I am born and bred in the Kingdom of Eswatini. Born here in Babani. I've lived here in Babani for quite a while now. In terms of my education background, I started my primary school at Stegi Nazarene, did my high school at St. Christopher's High School, and then went to college, finished my Association of Accounting Technicians diploma at the Swaziland College of Technology, then upgraded myself and did my first degree with the University of Eswatini. And I also now hold a master's in business administration from the University of Eswatini as well. So that is that in terms of my education background. And in terms of work, I've been working for 20 years. No, it's more than that actually. I started working in 2000. Some of my audiences may have not been born at the time. That's when I started working as an accounting technician with one of the institutions in the kingdom. I've since moved up and became, I'm now a program management specialist, where we oversee the implementation of HIV/AIDS related projects in the country. Yeah, so that's what I do. Strong accounting background, but also quite flexible in terms of project management. When we speak of mentorship, we speak of a relationship. We speak of one who has gone ahead of you, holding your hand towards the journey which you have chosen for yourself. That is how I view mentorship. I tend to view mentorship and guidance differently, because guidance you can get from anyone. But mentorship, you choose a mentor. You normally choose someone whom you look up to, someone who's experienced more than you. That particular someone may be older than you, doesn't necessarily have to be older. It may be a young person who's achieved more than you. So it depends on what you really want to learn from that person. So in terms of its importance, I would say the way I view life is you don't have to experience things to learn from it. So when you have someone who's gone ahead of you, who's experienced life, it's easier for you to learn and fast track your experience than when you wait to experience things yourself. So that is why I view mentorship as very important. As you go through a mentorship program, so to say, you are also tapping into wisdom that people have gained by walking ahead of you, and that is an advantage to you as a young person as you move forward. So that's how, in a nutshell, I would capture mentoring and guidance. So the next question, it talks about how then can a young person position themselves or himself for better in the next 5 to 10 years. Looking at our current environment, COVID has really fast-tracked what we considered, innovations that we considered previously to be beyond our lifetime. Who would have thought in 2022 you would sit and write an exam online? When we looked at it previously, we had accepted that you would take lessons online, but we never thought really you'd get to a position where you're even writing an exam online. So that tells you how far we've come along in terms of accepting innovation, embracing innovation, forced by circumstances that we find ourselves in. So when you look at how then can a young person position themselves, it just brings to me the opportunities that are now availed by technology. It says to me it is only up to the young person to stand up and embrace the technology and learn things that could otherwise have not been possible 5-10 years ago. We used to talk about the fourth industrial revolution as something that is coming. The fact is, it is upon us. So a young person who embraces technology, who embraces the new possibilities that are coming up with technology, will definitely be positioning himself of ourselves for the future. For instance, we are now learning that 5G is coming, and with 5G comes the possibility of driverless cars and many other things. So it means just to be a driver may not necessarily be the way to position yourself. I'm just picking a simple one, like being a driver may not be the right way to position yourself, but rather understanding the technology and wanting to be part of the group that develops the technology, for me, now speaks to positioning yourself such that you are not excluded from the possibilities that are coming around the corner, but you are part of the innovations that the world is looking to going forward. So you really have to be part of the drivers of the technologies that are coming forward, rather than being a consumer of what other people are developing. I would say, as a young person, it is very important to put yourself or to position yourself at the cutting edge of new thinking, new technologies, new innovations. Innovations that help solve challenges of the time. Like as we have experienced COVID, for instance. COVID has come with many opportunities, in particular around technology, and it is important for young people to understand those things that will be required going forward. It will not be COVID coming along the way next time around. We are hearing challenges around wars that are stifling supply chains. For instance, right now, most of us have just experienced an incredible hike in fuel. So what it means is that young people need to think about, how do we really replace fossil fuels, for instance, and be part of the innovators towards the changes that are now necessitated by the challenges that we face. The other thing that young people really need to embrace is being industrious and entrepreneurial. You know, the time for a young person to be an 8 to 5 person is almost over. The time for a young person to go to university, have a degree, have a master's, have a PhD, and look for a job is almost over. Where you just want to have a qualification, go to work 8 to 5 for 20, 30 years in one organization. I believe that era is gone. We have to be industrious. We have to be entrepreneurial. We have to no longer look out for jobs out there, but we have to be people who are sharp in terms of identifying challenges of society and wanting to come up with solutions of society. And that is where our education system will have to play a significant role. So the way I'm looking at it is, as a young person, don't be discouraged by going out there looking for a job and not finding it and thinking that's the end of the world. You have to tap into entrepreneurship, tap into being job creators rather than consumers of jobs, or employees of people that are also chasing their own dream. I'm not saying it's wrong, but the way the world is moving and the way society is changing, it is telling me that indeed we have to have a different kind of young people. We also have to have young people that are focused on what they want, not easily deterred by the environment. We are seeing right now young people, some of them foregoing their dreams just because the environment may not necessarily be conducive we are at a time when focus will become very important as a young person. Focus on what you want, pursue your dreams, and don't be afraid of failing. We come from an era where a fail was seen as a bad thing. You even got teachers marking you red if you didn't get a sum or whatever right. But we passed that era. Failure to me says it's an opportunity for you to know how not to do something. So it is not necessarily a bad thing. So don't be afraid of failure. When I talk to my young ones, I always tell them that there was a guy who came up with a light bulb who failed so many times. But then at the end he said, I've learned how not to do it that many times. That's where we are, and that's what we should be as young people. So having said that, the next question would be, what are the career paths really that are available? I've spoken a lot about innovation. I've spoken about the fourth industrial revolution. So it is telling you that the next frontier in terms of careers, as far as I'm concerned and as far as I view it, will be technology-driven careers. I always make an example of the agricultural sector, for instance, where it is no longer going to be just about railing cattle or plowing, but it is going to be about how do I use technology to maximize value extraction within that sector. When I say that, for instance, what do I mean? How do I use technology to make sure that I don't lose my stock? That means I need to be tagging my car, my cattle, geo-positioning them, and making sure that I'm able to see where each head is at any given point in time. I'm just making an example with that. Things that are already available, technologies that are already available, but that is within the agricultural sector. Sorry. So the movement is along those lines, as far as I'm concerned. If you are a dairy farmer, it is using technology to milk your cows, knowing what would be the best time using technology to milk the cows, to extract milk in a manner that maximizes my production. So those are the things that I'm looking at. It's not just looking at sectors the way we currently look at them, but it's looking at sectors and then embracing or putting in the technology eye to maximize value extraction. We are going through an era, for instance, where if you were an accountant like me, pretty soon artificial intelligence is going to replace accountants as we know them. Pretty soon you will, by virtue, let me say you are running a supermarket. Someone swipes at the point of sale, accounts are done, complete within a twinkle of an eye. We are going to that era. So it tells you that then as an accountant, you need to position yourself more than just a numbers person, a person who knows numbers, who knows how to balance the books, but a person who's able to identify opportunities as indicated by the financials and drive business strategy using the numbers that are now being churned out by artificial intelligence. So it's looking at the sectors as we know them, as we know them now, and look at how technology is going to allow those sectors to evolve, and then tapping into that. So I cannot sit here and tell you exactly that these are the career paths to follow, but rather I would say just embrace technology and look at what is available here and how that which is available is going to evolve over time technologically, and then position yourself. One important aspect of it, though, is that as you do that, you must always strive to be the best in the business. If we are, for instance, one football coach once said, if I'm a cleaner, I want to clean better than you, better than anyone else, so that my floor is cleaner than anyone. So, making an example of that, if you are an economist, you must be able to understand economics and be better than anyone next to you. If you are an accountant, be the best accountant in town. If you're a lawyer, be the best lawyer in town, and look at how you can leverage in technology to drive you such that you are the best in town. So I'll say basically that's how I view it, and that's how I would advise our young people to look at the future in terms of career paths. Now, other people are lucky enough to have talents. There's some people are born with talent. They don't have to go to school for talent. They are born with it. The question then becomes: is if I'm talented, how do I commercialize it? How do I make it something that I can live with? A few things, just my thoughts as well. One speaker once said, hard work beats talent. So even if you have talent, if you don't work hard, if you don't sharpen your talent, you will not be as successful as you would probably be if you work hard. Now, the next step will be to differentiate your art, to differentiate yourself. Be unique. The world likes people who are unique. Don't want to mimic someone else. The world likes authenticity. If you are authentic, if you are yourself, the world will embrace you. Once you have captured the way you want to differentiate yourself, it is also very important then to understand your audience. Who are your consumers, the consumers of the talent that you have? Understand them. And then push yourself. Push yourself to the edges of excellence. Don't be average. Average, as Africans, we shouldn't embrace. We are no longer in an era where the average will do. Our standard is world class. We don't do things just to excel in Eswatini. We do things to be the best in the world. So if you are talented, if you've got an art you want the rest of the world to consume, make sure it's the best in the world. The benchmark is the world, no longer where we live. And then, as I said earlier, choose someone to hold your hand. Not to copy, but someone who's gone before you, who's experienced, who's seen the pitfalls. Allow that person to hold your hand and learn. Learn from that person and develop your talent. Also mind your associations. Associations have a tendency of being a limiting factor. If your associations are wrong, you limit how far your talent can take you. They can't determine your level of success. That's your associations. Network. We always hear people talking about networking like it is just creating a bunch of friendship. Networking is when you connect with people that add value to what you do. Keep learning. Evolve with time. And lastly, if you've got a talent, you must understand the business side of your craft. Don't be just carried away by the talent. If you want to sell it, if you want to commercialize it, understand the business side. What does it take to create value in your art? If you are in music, for instance, it's not just about recording the track. It's about also understanding the business models available, right up to the promotion and distribution. So understanding the value chain and how you can extract value in each of the segments of the value chain. So that's for one person who is talented, who was just born with, for instance, the gift of singing. But having a talent doesn't necessarily mean you have to discount the value of education. Even with talent, education opens up your mind. It enlightens you. So there is no way around education. Education, as I've said, enlightens the mind. Education can be a route out of poverty, as we all know. One of the things that we all have access to, at least in Eswatini, is primary education. You have to embrace education. You have to move up the education ladder, get to tertiary level. Tertiary level will broaden your thinking. So never look at education as by the way. It may look like at this point in time in our society it is not important. But remember, we don't do it for Eswatini only. We don't do it for ourselves only. We do it so that we can compete in the world. The world wants the best. The one other thing that I like about education is that it empowers both genders. I'm particularly passionate about our ladies, for instance. And I'm always inspired when I see a lady CEO, when I see a lady director, because it means that person was able to go through education right up to the highest level, where he was now able to compete with what otherwise would not be a possibility, competing with men. So I would say, if you want to position yourself properly as a young person, do not look education lightly. Focus. Go right up to where you would want to be. If you want to be a PhD holder, go for it. And one last thing I want to say about education is that it does bring down the boundaries that we find ourselves in. I keep on talking about being the best in the world, being competing with the rest of the world. Education will allow you to be able to do that. More so, it will allow you to transport your skills to anywhere in the world where they are needed. And that is a very important part, benefit of education, which to me says no matter how things turn out in the country of your origin, you can always move your skills to another country that is going to benefit from them. And for me, it is one, I've seen this particularly with our, I'm sorry to say, our Zimbabwean friends, who out of a good quality education are able to compete anywhere in the world for any job. That for me is one important aspect of education that says to me, as young people, don't look down upon it. It may be difficult right now considering the stages of our societal development, but it will come in handy going forward. Thank you. I've worked for 22 years, and over the 22 years I've grown from being a junior officer to someone who now sits at different SMTs. One of the things that have grounded me and have helped me is my belief in God. And it is one of those things that I consider fundamental in grounding a young person. Because if you don't have grounding as a young person, you tend to be tossed and turned by the winds of the tide. Yet I have found that having my strength in God, in Christ, has given clarity to my vision in terms of what I need to focus on and what I need to avoid to be able to maintain that focus over time.